Good morning, and welcome to another episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So pleased that you're with me. And as you may be able to hear, we are on a road trip again. That's right. It is Friday morning. Excuse me while I just put the phone down. You may hear a little bump. But just popped Buddy down to daycare. He had a bit of a difficult night last night, the little fella. He was up and down about 7 times, and I swear he's my dog. He was outside, and I thought, he's been out there for about 10 or 15 minutes, which feels like a year, doesn't it, when it's so cold outside. You've got the back door open, and you're just there in your little T-shirt and your bare legs, and you're like, oh, it's so cold, so cold. When's this little puppy going to come back inside? And then, anyway, I go out and I check on him, and there he is, just staring at the moon. It's like, Buddy, inside. And he'd come inside, and then, he'd time it just beautifully until I'd listen to my manifesting meditation, and I'd just gone off into a deep sleep, and then he'd get up and want to go outside again. And of course, he calls my bluff, because I'm pretty sure that, I'm pretty sure that the one time I don't get up and let him out will be the time he has an accident inside. So he's got me right where he wants me. And we repeat the process. I don't think the little fella went to the toilet once last night. Just had ants in his pants for some reason. But I think we are coming up to new moon. I'm not sure if we're quite there yet or not. I have to check my moon information. But might have something to do with it. Maybe Buddy's going to be setting a new intention soon, which is one of the things that I want to talk with you about today, because I'm really excited to share something with you. If you've been listening to my show for a little while now, you'll know that I think it was back in January, maybe even December. Yeah, it was the end of last year. I hired a money coach, and I think I've mentioned before that I've been working with her, and I've really been loving the work. I do. I really, really love this work. I love it because it's an hour just for me to focus on me. I also know, that sounds so selfish, but it's not, right? You have to doing the work on you is doing the work for your private practice, okay? But it just feels really indulgent sometimes, doesn't it? To not be focused on other people, but to just allow somebody else to, give their care and focus to you, and allow yourself to be in the feminine energy of receiving that and allowing yourself to receive it, giving yourself permission to receive it. So it turns out that I really love working with my money coach. She's a beautiful soul. I love some of the techniques that we've done, and I've really enjoyed it. Has it been helping me with the money? So we're 6 months on now. I no longer see her. I haven't seen her for about maybe 6 weeks. But was it working? Did it help? I don't know. Oh, I know that I loved it, and I know that I love her. I really do just have so much love for her. I think she's just a beautiful, beautiful person. She's on her own journey as well as we all are with things. But did it actually get me a result? I don't know. I would like to think that maybe it planted seeds. Maybe it took weeds out of the soil, right? Maybe that was the function of having that time with her. Although I did want to see in that time, which is only 6 months, I know, but I wanted to do the weeding and the tilling of the soil and put in the fertilizer and the sea salt and, all of that stuff into the soil, and let the soil settle and plant the seed and then watch the seed grow. And then, of course, I wanted the seed to grow from just a shoot to a stalk to a tree, and, of course, go through all the stages it needs to go through to give me some fruit, to ripen the fruit, and then to let the fruit naturally drop off the tree. I wanted all that to happen in 6 months. Of course, it didn't happen in 6 months, which is a nice reminder, I think, for all of us, because I think a lot of the time I've just taken on 6 new coaching clients in the private practice 8-session breakthrough intensive, and I'm so excited to work with them. But at the same time, I think sometimes people leave it too late to get coaching. It's almost like counseling in a way. You know how sometimes people come when it's too late? You just wish that you'd had that chance to sit with them maybe 2 months ago or 3 months ago, and then you could have helped them and it would have been more profound rather than you feel like you're just quickly now putting out fires. Yeah, so I think I probably went to coaching with her around my money mindset too late, and I had expectations or wants or wishes. Like I wanted it all to happen, right? And I was getting impatient, like, why isn't this happening? Why isn't it happening? But if I look back, even though it's only been 6 weeks since I, stopped my work with her, and I will go back to her, just not so regularly. Um, but I really think that I needed to check myself in terms of my expectations, and that's a lesson that I took away from this. But also, I'm taking away from it that maybe she came into my life and I into hers for different reasons, and the work that we did together was all around weeding. Right, the weeding has been done. Okay, anyway, so you know that I needed to, well, for those of you who don't know the story is I'm now a carer for an aging parent. I really love this role. I do so much because for the longest time I was well, as a child, I think I was parentified. So I'm not saying that in a bad way or anything, but that's just what happened. I took on a lot of responsibility. I can see now was not mine to take on from a very young age, right? From when my father left, I was 11, nearly 12. He left, and then it's like I became a parent to my siblings, and I love the responsibility of it. I was the eldest child, so I love the responsibility of it. But now that I'm a grown up woman who's had so much of my own therapy and done so many courses and training, I can also see that perhaps, maybe, possibly, in a way, I became a archetypal husband to my mother. So anyway, I know, right? We could spend all day in that little pile, couldn't we? But that's all good. But I'm just saying that caring for her now just feels very natural to me because of my background, right? I've always been caring for people and looking after people and taking on that role of responsibility, being a provider, all those kinds of things. So I'm taking to this like a duck to water. However, um, one of the things that I was struggling with was the financial responsibility of looking after somebody else. I don't know what it's like looking after children. I can't speak to that because I don't have children. I chose not to walk that path. Um, and yes, I probably could have had children. I don't know. Some people say, oh, I feel so bad for you, you weren't able to have them. But look, I'm pretty sure I could have had them. When I was 21, I had some problems, but I'm pretty sure I still could have got pregnant if I wanted to. But what was more important to me, I think at the time when I was in my 20s and my 30s, was I think I just felt like for so long I had been looking after other people and I really just wanted to experience life and I wanted to have adventures. And I was looking at my friends and people that I went to school with and stuff like that, and listening to their experiences and seeing their experiences. And I just thought, that's not for me. Like, I want to sleep in on a Sunday morning. I want a sports car that's only got 2 seats and I can drop the top. I want to be able to take off and go to Paris whenever I want. And so that was the life I chose for myself. And yeah, anyway, I forget how I got onto this. What was I talking about? Looking after people financially. Right. So anyway, what's happened is I've never had a dependent before, really, other than Buddy, who's and Gabe before that, but they were puppies. It's very, very different, obviously. But looking after a parent, I'm sure it's probably got different wonderful parts, but also for me personally, it's been bringing up a lot of my own stuff. And one of those things was, oh my gosh, now I'm financially responsible for someone and I need to take life seriously now. Not that I wasn't before, but before I had a lot more spontaneity and I could just take off and go when I wanted and things like this. But now it's like, oh, stop, think, can you do that? Like now it's like a lot more planning is required. Things like that. But the issue that I want to talk about at the moment that's relevant to this podcast episode is the finances. So I realized that I needed to raise my financial set point because, just in my circumstances, medical bills are increasing. They're not going down, they're increasing. And I'm responsible for those bills. So I need to find ways of increasing my income. Now, this is why I got the money coach, not only to increase my income, but also to look at any blocks that I had around it because I teach this stuff. I love teaching about the intertwine and the balance and the harmony of the masculine and the feminine. And I believed that I was doing everything within my knowledge, within my awareness, within my power to embrace and embody that intertwining, if you like. But I still wasn't seeing the result that I wanted or that I believed that I needed. And that's why I got this money coach, because I just thought maybe it's time for me to clear out all these old money blocks and money beliefs. Because as you know, when I was growing up, I didn't find it difficult or tough for the most part, to be honest. It was just my reality. And I thought nothing of it. Like you don't as a child, right? You just kind of roll with it and you think that this is everybody's life. It's only when you sort of grow up and you realize, oh, wait, everybody else had access to all these things, but I didn't. That's when it's kind of like, oh. So, anywho, and I've just lost my train of thought again. What was I going to say? Okay, so I needed to raise my financial set point. So I got her to try and help me clear any maybe unconscious or subconscious blocks that there might have been around that. I stopped seeing her 6 weeks ago, as I said. Now, about 3 weeks ago, everything changed. Everything changed, and I'm hitting my financial goal, which I wanted to hit the whole time, but never really thought that I would or believed that I would. I'm doing it now. I've had, well, in the last 3 weeks, I hit my new financial goal in week 1. Last week, I got about half of it, which is still more than my usual. And then this week, I've exceeded it. So it took about 3 weeks. So I thought, let's do a little debrief and see what I did, because I wanted to record this as a reminder to myself, just in case I slip back into old patterns. I want to be able to have this here to come back to remember how I did it. Because, yeah, I mean, everything's going to go up and down, right? We always want life to happen in a linear way. Same with our finances. We always want them to be going forward, not backwards, but it's going to go up and down. So I just want to be prepared for that. So recording this as much for myself as it is for you. So here's what happened. I think I told you that when I went away to Daylesford, I found an app. I got an email in my email account in my inbox, and it was from Hay House, and they were having a sale on their app. Like you got to pay a monthly subscription or something, and they're having some kind of sale. Might have been a 50% off sale. Now I had wanted to subscribe to the app before, but my money mindset had been like, no, you don't need it. You can't afford it. If you take that money, and use it for yourself for this app, that's, money that you're taking from, the family. And I did all of those things, right? But it came up on sale, and I remember being there on leave, and I thought to myself, no, it's half price, I'm going to get it. So I subscribed, and I remembered sitting in the spa with my glass of Syrah, which is my new favourite red wine. I'm normally a hard spirits person, but turns out I like Syrah, Syrah. Beautiful. And there's beautiful bottles that you can get from Victorian Regions, by the way. The French one tastes a little bit smoother and better in my mind, but it's nice to know that you can get it from here. Anywho, and I just started typing in about manifesting and money manifestation and all this sort of stuff. And I came across this lady, and so the app gives you a library. You can build your own library, and you can save things that you like to your favorites and all that sort of stuff. So I was saving all these meditations on manifesting to this little library I was creating. And then that night when I went to bed, I thought, okay, normally I can never listen to a meditation when I'm going to sleep because I stay awake to pay attention to listen to it. But while I was away, I thought, no, I'm going to give it a go. And I just tried to allow myself to fall asleep and just trust that I wasn't going to miss out on anything. Just trust that I didn't need to be present and consciously aware as I was listening to it. Just trust that what I needed to hear was going to be received by my unconscious or subconscious mind, and do whatever it needed to do to rewire me, right? So I did that, and I did it every night that I was away, and then I never stopped. So that's been about 4 weeks, I would say now, for 4 weeks, yeah, since I was away. And then 3 weeks ago, I went to the Mind Body Spirit Festival. And, from previous episodes, I won't go into it there, but I just asked for guidance on the way in to be directed to any body, person, object, smell, sound that I needed to hear in order to clear anything that was in my path to raising my financial set point. So I've set a financial goal for myself of what I want to be receiving each week into the business. The other thing that I did was I put a call out I always speak to my pa now that I had that experience with him coming through with that psychic medium whose name was David Walsh, who still goes to the Mind Body Spirit Festival, by the way. So if you're looking for someone who's legit and not a charlatan, absolutely look for him at the Mind Body Spirit Festival in Melbourne. I think the next one is in November or October. It costs you like $60 for 15 minutes to go and see him. I'm not affiliated with him or anything like that, but just recommend him. But ever since my pa came through for me that day with him, now I always call on pa and, any angels or guardian angels. And, I want to believe in all of that. So it's not going to hurt me to say, while I'm sitting in the car before I go somewhere, I call upon, my guardian angels. I call upon Pa to make sure that I have a clear drive to Chadstone this morning to make sure that I'm safe and protected and well. So I do things like that, and I used a little prayer to say, please clear, and my guardian angels and the archangels, please come and clear anything that needs to be cleared off my pathway so that I can receive the financial abundance that's, divinely mine for the highest good of myself and all others, and did all of that. And I was guided to things there. And then I came home and I continued for the past 3 weeks to listen to that meditation every single night. I changed the way I work, and I just say to myself now, what am I going to do? What's one thing I can do that will increase my audience, like that will grow my audience? And what's one thing I can do that will grow my revenue today? And they're the two priorities that I set myself for the day. And I make sure I do those two things before I do anything else, right? So even though, of course, I want to be in Canva and play around and make images and graphics and posts and stuff like that, or I want to jump into my communities and start helping people, or one of my other favorite things is to go and add new content into existing courses and let my members know, hey, you just got a little upgrade. I love, love, love doing that and surprising them with things. But I made my priority every day to be one thing that's going to grow the audience and one thing that will generate income. One of the things that I remembered an old coach saying to me was, I was talking about how, this was like years ago, I was talking about how, I'm not making any money, blah, blah, blah. And she said to me, well, what are you selling? Like, are you actively selling? And I was like, nope. So selling is called making an offer. So I make offers every day now, every day. So there's offers that will grow my audience and offers that will grow my income. So I've been doing those things for the past 3 weeks as well. And then more recently, what I did was I really focused on, or what came into my awareness rather, was the idea of embodying the version of me that's already at that financial set point. And I know I've spoken about this so many times, but why did it work this time and why didn't it work the other times? Well, I'll tell you, I think the other times when I really was so focused and I really wanted it, and I was like, I'm going to embody the version of me right now that's already receiving this amount of turnover in her business or in her private practice, I just had no clue what that was or what it looked like or anything like that. And so I found it really hard to do. And the other thing was I have fear around it because I didn't know that version of me. I don't know a version of me that makes this much money or that receives this much income. That's not my familiar path. So what was happening was my intention was creating tension, and I wouldn't follow through with it entirely because I would hold back on, fully embodying. So embodying that version of me that was making the money that I wanted to be receiving needed to think, feel, and act in certain ways. And I could try and do things like imagine how it would feel and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I just had no idea like what that version of me would do. And then when I did start to think about what that version of me would be doing and make decisions from that place, I got scared because I was thinking, well, that version of me would probably outsource this, but the reality me here and now in the 3D world will be like, oh, that's so scary. No, I think I'll just stay over here. So I had a foot in both camps for the longest time, for probably years. I had a foot in both camps. I can see that now. What shifted for me was the identity. And this became so apparent over the last couple of weeks. And I think even before this awareness of identity became so clear, what had happened was I'd already started to shift my identity subconsciously with this manifesting meditation that I'd been doing. I really believe that it must have been clearing something for me that I wasn't aware of because I was sleeping through it, right? Um, but I really believe that that has just helped me so much. And it required zero effort. All I had to do was turn on the app. I think the whole meditation goes for an hour or something like that. I think even, I've never listened to the whole thing while I've been awake, but I've woken up to bits and pieces of it at certain times, and I think it probably only goes, she's probably only talking for about 20 minutes, and then the rest is just music. But I have the deepest sleep, and certainly things have been changing for me as a result of this particular, um, sorry, I'm just trying to find a park now, of this particular thing. So it's it's been starting to get me to see things in a new way, see myself in a new way, see the business in a new way. And I didn't even realize. But as a result of that shift, what was starting to happen was I was starting to act more like somebody who was making this level of income, right? For example, I was starting to do things like, um, there we go, I found a park. I was starting to do things like say to myself, no, before you start getting on with other things in the business, you're going to start focusing on one thing to grow your audience and one thing to grow your income, right? Now, that idea just kind of dropped into my head, but I've got to trust that that was me in the embodiment of that new identity. Um, that's just one example there. The other thing that I started to do was be more aware of holding money. So when the last 3 weeks, this extra, well, it feels like extra money. It's the money that I need, but it feels like surplus money because I'm so used to what's familiar to me and being in that space. This feels like I've doubled my income. I'm not even joking. I have doubled it. Um, and it feels like, oh my gosh, there's all this money now, and of course I want to spend it all. I want to like just go on a big shopping spree, and I want to upgrade my computer. I want to, like, I don't even need a new Mac, right? My Mac is fine, but I kind of would love to have a new Mac. So now I'm starting to daydream about all these things. So I've got the lesson for me now is, okay, how do I hold this money so it's there for the bills, and how do I get used to having um, so I've got savings, of course. Most of us have savings, and if you've got savings, you're probably used to looking at it and it stays roughly about the same amount, right? You dip into it and then you bring it back to that normal level. You add a little bit extra to it, you spend that little bit extra and you bring it down to that normal level. But most of the time, it's at that normal level for you. So I'm at that point now of not spending it and just trying to get it to, like, get the savings to increase and be okay with holding that container at the new level. And that's interesting and it's weird, and it's going to take me time to get used to. But the reason I believe that it's only taken me the 3 weeks, as I said, it hasn't been 3 consistent weeks, but the first week I hit that goal. The second week, I halved it and still made more than my usual income. And this week, I've exceeded that goal. So something has clearly shifted in terms of my, not ability to call it in, but my ability to perhaps allow myself to receive it and hold it. And I wholeheartedly believe it was rewiring my identity, allowing myself, giving myself permission to be in that space of tension, right? I was listening to somebody else speak recently, and he was defining intention as being in, like IN, and then tension, TENSION. And he was explaining that you go from wanting something, which is where I was wanting and needing and putting pressure on myself to make this money, to increase my income, to increase my financial set point, so that then I could easily and safely and comfortably know that I could cover things like medical expenses. But I was in that space of wanting. But you've got to go from wanting to intention, right? Wanting is the step before intention, but intention is where it all happens. Intention is where you say, I set the intention to raise my financial set point so that these things can happen. And I set the intention to embody the version of me that's already doing it and got it. But when you do that, you can see from my story, I was stuck in that tension because I was afraid. I was afraid to make decisions from the state of mind of the person, the version of me that already had the income that I needed, because the reality version of me didn't have that. And so I felt like it was scary. So I was half in, half out. I would allow myself to feel abundant or imagine what it would feel like to be abundant and all those kinds of things. And I'll take some of the actions, but not fully, right? Because of fear, I was in tension. And what was easier for me than being in that space of tension and being scared, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't happen for me? Da 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 da. It's safer financially if I don't take those actions from that place, and if I stay where I am now and just keep plugging away. That was me staying in the familiar. And Joe Dispenza, I think it was, he talks about breaking the familiar pattern, breaking the pattern that of your familiar self, breaking the habit of being you. It's the tension is where the fear is, but the fear, as we know cognitively and intellectually, we know that that's where the growth is. Right? On the other side of that fear is the thing that you're wanting the most. And so you've got to get okay with, okay, how do I get okay with it, with the fear? And so what I'm doing now is I'm reminding myself, this does make me nervous making this decision. This does make me feel scared making this decision to invest in another course, to invest in another coach, to invest in, I don't know, something for my health and well-being, stuff like that. I think to myself, yeah, it's scary. Wow, that's such a lot of money. But I also know that that fear is a sign that I'm expanding and that I'm growing. And that fear, like anything, is temporary. That fear is temporary. Everything is temporary. And I know I'll only feel that fear for a few moments, or, a few hours or something like that. And then it's going to go away. And then there's going to be good things on the other side of that. So I've had to learn to shift my mindset around what fear means for me. And fear and discomfort no longer mean run and hide. Now I'm learning how to make fear and discomfort mean you're on the right path here. You're scared, you're nervous, you're hesitating. That means that you are on to something. You are absolutely on the right path. Do it more, right? Proceed. Just go for it. You're on the right path. But at the same time, it also, for me, the easiest way to get into this new identity was through meditation. Hands down, it was through meditation. It wasn't through like the practical strategies and all those kinds of things. It was the meditation that allowed me to start to rewire my brain. And it wasn't even a conscious meditation where I'm awake and I'm doing it and I'm listening. This was a almost like a hypnosis, I believe. I'm not saying that that meditation that I've been listening to was the only thing. It's not, but it's the only thing that I can pinpoint from my current state of awareness that led to this. But in saying that, I know this was probably what I'm identifying as the big catalyst, but there was pre-work that I did. I had that 6 months of money coaching where I believe we probably weeded out a whole lot of stuff. And if I hadn't done that, would this meditation have been as effective? Who knows? Probably not. Um, I believe that this meditation has really allowed me to just without even thinking start embodying the version of me that's already doing the things that the version of me at that financial set point does. As I said, even my approach to the day now, right? Even my approach to the day. Um, Thinking about like it's taking the business seriously. Not that I wasn't before, but it's taking it seriously in even a newer way and a bigger way than I was before. Okay. Um, but I also recognize too that in the past, over the past 6 months or 5 years or 10 years, wanting to increase my income and things like that, it's been like hoping that it would happen. I've been saying I'm going to set an intention and I want to do it and da 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 da. But um, by me saying that I hoped for it and I wanted it, I was vibrating at a resonance of lack and not having it. And, nothing's going to come to me when I'm in that resonance of lack and not having it. Right. And I didn't realize that. I thought that I was doing all of the right things by journaling, this is what I want and da 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 da. No, those things I can see now for me were only keeping me stuck in a pattern. They were reminding me every single day of what I didn't have. And so that's what I was manifesting. I was vibrating at the resonance of not having those things. So it's true when people say, how do you vibrate at the same resonance as the version of you in your private practice that's seeing what she wants, like whether it's clients, whether it's income, whether it's opportunities, whether it's impact, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm just talking about money today because this episode focus is on my journey with my money coach and my finances and everything, because your business is to serve you and your lifestyle as well as to serve your clients, right? They're both equally as important. It's 50-50. And I think a lot of the time we forget about ourselves and we become so focused that we're working for our business. The business is take, 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 right? Somebody said to me recently that she felt bullied by her business, and that just broke my heart. It broke my heart. She works so freaking hard, gets up at the crack of dawn every single day, tinkers with the website, writes blogs, does all of the things. Breaks my heart. I don't want anybody to feel bullied by their business. Your business should be working for you and you should be feeling loved up. Your business should be like pampering you, should be like providing for you, should be saying, you want to go and get your hair and nails done? No worries, let me cover that, right? But until you can start to get into that resonance, it's going to be really, really hard. And one of the ways that you can do that, if you're unfamiliar with what it feels like to earn your financial goal, so let's imagine, and you should all have a business plan. And in that business plan, you should all have your financial projections or your goals for every 90 days. So look at that, and maybe if it's not what you're seeing right now, start to think, what would it be like if I did have that money, and start to daydream and fantasize about it. And the more you can do that, the more it starts to seep into your subconscious mind, right? But if you really want that abundance, start to look for, where do I have abundance in my life right now? Where do I have abundance in my life right now? So for me, it wasn't about abundance. For me, it was about ease and freedom. I want to know that I'm not going to have a panic attack if a medical bill comes in for, thousands and thousands of dollars. I want to know that I'm not feeling threatened, that I'm not going to get into survival mode, that I'm not going to have a freak out if I get a bill for like $10,000 next month for a medical expense. I want to know that's fine. Money's there. Yep, I'll pay it today. No problem. That's what I'm going for. So for me, the feeling that I wanted to have was ease and relief and just calm and not being in survival. That's what I wanted, the absence of that survival mode. So I started to think, where in the day do I feel ease and calm and like I'm not in survival mode? And I started to find things in the day that gave me that feeling. So when I'm playing ball with Buddy, I'm not thinking about being in survival mode. I'm feeling easy. I'm feeling light. When I'm making a cup of tea and drinking it, I'm feeling easy and light. When I'm going to sleep at night, I'm feeling easy and light. When I'm having a shower, I'm feeling easy and light. I'm not in survival mode while I'm having a shower, right? So I started to find more space in the day where I was already feeling calm and at ease. Right. So for me, it wasn't about being positive and be really happy or anything like that. For me, it was, I want that feeling of calm and ease. How can I find it? How can I tune into that feeling? The more that you tune into that feeling, the easier it becomes for you to manifest what you want, because you're now moving into vibrational resonance with what you want. Law of attraction basically states like attracts like, right? And so it's not something that happens from the outside in. I'm not going to say, oh, when that money comes into the practice, then I'll feel calm. No, that's not what creates vibrational resonance. When you're living like that, you're living at effect. You're not living at cause, right? That's NLP speak, but you know what I mean. You're living at the mercy of everything else. You're powerless. You're in victim mode. All those kinds of things. I would have money if the EAP would send me more work. I would have money if I wasn't in a small regional area, and there weren't so many counselling practices near me. I would have money if I didn't have a niche. I will have more clients if I just keep lowering my fees and lowering my fees and lowering my fees. That's living at cause. That's living at effect. Sorry, living at cause is living from the inside out. I trademarked this years ago. Everybody uses this expression now, but it's living from the inside out means you've got to change your internal system first in order to see shifts in the external. And what that looks like in real terms is you got to shift your identity. You got to shift how you see yourself, because until you shift how you see yourself, others won't shift how they see you. And then nothing's going to change in your reality. When you see yourself as, in my case, having ease around money and having freedom around my time and around my money and things like that, I'm not going to start behaving in a way that's going to amplify and magnify ease and freedom around my money, right? I'm going to be living in restriction and constriction and all those kinds of things. And that's what's going to manifest to me. I'm going to be saying to myself, even though I might only have this much money in my account and I want to go and do that thing over there, I'm going to say, oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. I'm not, you might be thinking, well, Brooklyn, you really couldn't afford it. You did not have that money there. That would be living at effect. Living a cause is more like this. How can I find a way to make this happen for me? How many ways can I find a way to work with my business coach, right? So I've had some amazing coaches, but they're not cheap. If you've ever had coaching, it's like minimum $10,000 for, just even a short package. My coaching isn't that, but you're looking at about $10,000 upwards. I've paid $100,000 in the past for a coach. Who's got that money? I don't have that money, but I found ways to make it work. I contacted that coach and I said, listen, I really, really, really want to work with you. I don't have $100,000. How can I make this happen? Here's what I'm thinking. I can post your social media. I can manage your website for you. Do you know what I mean? I looked at creative ways of making this happen. Can I go on a payment plan? Can I go on a 5-year payment plan? And when I start to make more money, can I pay that payment plan off more quickly? I looked at be resourceful. The expansive mind, the growth mindset that you must have as a business owner is, how can I make it happen? Not, I can't do that because of my external circumstances. No. If you live in that state of mind, if you keep telling yourself, I can't do that because of something that's beyond my control, you will never get to where you want to go. You will stay right where you are, treading water. And I don't want that for you. I want you to have that experience of expansion and to know that you can have most of the things that you really want. You can have just about anything that you really want if you've got the attitude for it and start saying, how can I do this? How can I make it happen? When you ask that question, Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks say, ask and it's given. Ask and you receive. That's one of the commandments, I think. But when you ask that question, it requires your subconscious mind to go hunting for the answer. Neurologically, your reticular activating system says, right, Brooklyn, hearing you loud and clear, wait there, hold tight, I'll be back to you with an answer. And it's going to come back to you with an answer, okay? It's going to come back to you with an answer, either in that moment or later that day or later that week. Something will just drop in and you'll know straight away how you can make it happen. So if you want to start seeing shifts in the number of clients, in your financial set point, all those kinds of things, try these approaches, because I really believe that using a combination of them, as I have, for me, I really believe that the biggest thing I did was shift my identity and give myself permission to start acting like that person. And it's so interesting because with all the coaching that I had, I've been a people pleaser for so long. I used to ask my coach, do you think it's safe for me to manifest that kind of money or get this many clients? Or do you think I could really do it? I was like seeking permission all the time from everybody else. Seeking permission all the time from everybody else. And I want to be a good person because that's how I used to get approval growing up, and that's how I got love growing up and all that kind of stuff. So then I'd always go back to friends and family and check in with them to, do you think this is a good idea? What do you think about this? And I'd allow my decisions to be influenced by the thoughts of others who had no experience with private practice. They love me and they want what's right for me, but they're in no position to be giving me guidance or advice on what I should be doing. And I had no business letting myself make business decisions based on the loving but uninformed opinions of others, right? It's what kept me safe, because the underlying thing for me all the time was, well, maybe I don't really want to change because I don't know what that's going to look like on the other side. And that looks really, really scary. I don't know what it looks like to make that type of money or to see that many clients or to make that much impact. What's that gonna, like, what are my vulnerabilities at that point? I'm struggling where I am over here. So these are just some interesting things to think about. And as I said, if you're manifesting and you're trying to, well, we're always manifesting, that, but if you're trying to be intentional with your manifesting, but you're just not making it, you're just not seeing the results that you want, it's possible that you're in the identity of the person that doesn't have it, because your reality is equal to your self-image. Your reality is equal to your self-image. Your reality is equal to your self-image. How you see yourself is going to determine the reality that you see. So if you don't know what your self-image is, have a look at your numbers, have a look at your inquiries, have a look at the traffic on your website, have a look at your retention, have a look at your key performance indicators, have a look at the income that's coming through, have a look at the cancellations, have a look at the way you market yourself, all those kinds of things. Have a look, and that will tell you exactly what your self-image is. And that is where the gold is, because then you know exactly what you need to work on. When you know what you need to work on, then it's just a matter of you showing up for yourself. Nothing's going to change for you if you keep looking to others for approval, and like I was, or looking to others for their opinion. What you're really doing is you're looking to justify not taking action, I believe. When you ask other people for their approval, for their opinion, for their input, and you follow it, you allow yourself to make decisions based on that, I think all you're doing is you're in your mind justifying not taking action on something. You're looking for a reason not to take action, and you go to the people that most of the time, either don't know anything about private practice. They love you, but they don't know anything about private practice. They don't know anything about running a private practice business. Like, you will go and you will work with the free mentor through some community program that has no experience with private practice, and you're going to feel like you're taking some action, but you know in your heart that you're only doing it in a halfway, because the mentor that you're working with maybe has a background in construction and is doing this mentoring because they want to give back to the community. Maybe they've got a construction business, so their guidance is going to be what works for them in construction. They're going to be telling you, go and get Google reviews, go and get your testimonials, do this, corporate that. And you're going to be doing it, but in your heart, you know the whole time that this is not going to work for your private practice. But you're deluding yourself because you're keeping yourself where it feels safe. You're saying, oh, well, I'm taking action. But at the same time, you know that action isn't actually going to get you far. It'll get you part of the way, but it's not going to get you far. The change is going to come when you give yourself permission to go there. And maybe what my experience is, and I'm just sharing this with you, but maybe, in my family, what I know now, because there's been some family members like my mom, my niece, my sister, even myself at some point, we've all done a little bit of like family tree genealogy stuff on Ancestry and stuff like that. But it opened up conversations within the family of, things like this. And I remembered asking my mom, oh, somebody gave me a reading. She was like a psychic medium or something. No, she did Akashic Records. I hadn't had them done before, and she did it all over audio on Messenger for me. She just said to me one day, I'm feeling called to give you an Akashic reading. Would that be okay with you? And I said, yes. And she said, is there something you'd like to focus on? I said, yes, my money. And she came back to me and she said that she was getting a sense of ropes. I mentioned this in previous episodes, so I won't go into it in too much detail, but she saw big, thick ropes. She saw naval ships, cold weather, potatoes, things like this. And she said it was like generation, generation, generation. I asked my mum about that. I said, is there anything about this in our history? And then she said, oh, not that I can think of. And then she came back to me a couple of days later and she goes, do you know what? I thought about what you said and I went back through my memory and I went back through this, that, and the other and some of our notes. And you're right. On your father's side, there's intergenerational poverty. And they were all in the Navy. How's that? They were all in the Navy and there's intergenerational poverty. And do you remember I spoke to you briefly about epigenetics as well? Like this idea that things happen in our DNA that we inherit. So I heard about this idea of ancestral DNA and I never really understood it or believed it until I read a article. Now, I think it was in the New England Journal of Medicine, but I don't actually remember. But it's legit. You can look it up, no problem. But what it was, and I've mentioned this as well, so I'll just be quick about this too, but for those of you who haven't heard it, it's really interesting. There was a science experiment that was done where the scientists had a lot of mice or rats and they had them in cages, and the cages were electrified on the bottom, and they would puff into the cage the scent of cherry blossom. At the same time, they would send a little electric shock through the bottom of the cage, and the mice would get this electric shock, right? Not a big electric shock, just a zap, right? Like if you used a TENS machine or something like that, just a low zap. They weren't hurt or anything like that, but it was enough to give them like a startle. And they did that. And then they noticed that the offspring of those rats and mice, when they were exposed to the scent of cherry blossom, they'd freak out. They'd start running around the cage and like trying to climb up the walls of the cage and everything like that. They'd freak out, even though they had never been electrocuted. And then their offspring, same reaction. And then their offspring, same reaction. And this went on for 10 generations of rats and mice. How is it that all the way down to generation 10, they're still having that same reaction every time they smell cherry blossom, even though they've never had an experience of being electrocuted, right? That's what epigenetics is. And so that was interesting for me to learn as well, because thinking about why do I have all this, like I was obsessed about financial security, right? Not just because I grew up in poverty. Growing up in poverty never bothered me because, as I said, I was never aware of it. It was only when I got older and people started to say to me, poor you, that I started to embody the mindset of poor me, that was shit, that was a really horrible life that I had there. But it wasn't. It was my normal. I actually think I had a pretty good life growing up. I wasn't aware of the lack. Wasn't aware of it. I only became aware of it due to other people feeding me their sympathy and their empathy and things like that. And then I started to embody that. And then that became my belief. Oh, I must have had like this really horrible childhood. I didn't have a horrible childhood at all. My childhood was totally fine. And compared to, I see so many families now where the kids get everything that they want and they still complain. They still don't have um, things that they want or things that they need. Like they still feel lack. I never felt lack, even though the reality that I wasn't aware of at the time was that I was in it. Never felt it. Um, so be aware of perhaps, and it's really hard because you don't know what's in your subconscious. The way that you're going to know what's in your subconscious is when you set an intention and you are faced with that fork in the road. Do I pay for this coaching, as in my case? Do I pay for this coaching of $100,000? Or I'm not saying you have to pay for coaching of $100,000. I'm just giving you an example. Let's call it a stretch. Do I have to stretch myself over here outside of what's normal for me, outside of my familiar me, outside of my familiar reality, out of side of what's safe for me, right? Can I make that stretch? And do I trust myself to make that stretch? And do I give myself permission to make that stretch? And do I give myself permission to change my own reality? And in doing so, maybe, part of the reason that you see the world differently is because you're here to change things. Maybe part of the reason that you have this desire in you is because it's destined for you. I fully believe that. I fully believe that. And I'm sharing my experience with you of manifesting and shifting my identity because it's this identity shift supported, like the shift of identity is at the core. But then you've got your masculine and feminine practices that go around it, right? Yes, the masculine was making sure I'm doing something every day to get a new subscriber, a new follower, a new listener, something like that, and something every single day to get $1 into the business. Something every single day. Make an offer every single day. Sell something every single day. Make an invitation every single day. Right? So, yes, there's practical things, there's mindset things, like with my journaling. So I journal every single day. I do a debrief every single day. What went really well today? What worked for me today? Because it's doing debriefs that help me know what to let go of and what to do more of. Oh, this went really well. Okay, I'll do that again tomorrow. That didn't. Okay, I'll drop that for now. And the debriefs allow me to refine things. So I debrief daily now, and I debrief weekly, and then I do like monthly and quarterly debriefs. Debriefs are part of the mindset strategy for me. But then I had to do, so that's the masculine energy stuff. And then what supports the identity shift is being in the feminine. That's allowing yourself to go there, allowing yourself to dream about it, allowing yourself to tell stories to yourself about this new version of you, or this version of you that already exists, and how you are already that person. And there's no separation between you and the successful version. You are already the successful version. You are already source. You are already divine. You are already God. You've got this inside you. You are it. You are source. Therefore, anything you want is available to you right now. So allowing is really, really important in terms of the feminine. The other thing that I did that I really feel helped, and it's going to sound crazy, and it is a feminine thing to do, was declutter. It's a feminine thing to do because the feminine is not about stability. The feminine is about moving and shifting and transferring and transforming. And so decluttering, I decluttered the wardrobe, then I decluttered so my study at home is a spare bedroom. So then I started to declutter shelves in that wardrobe, and then I started to declutter things in Canva. I started to put things in folders in Canva. So decluttering helped a lot, and then I decluttered my actual desktop, my physical desktop. So I changed my pencil holder. I, used lemon juice and water to clean everything on my bench top because I believe that citrus stuff is high vibe and I wanted to have high vibes. So I did all those kinds of things, like feminine things. I made the workspace, I made the study feel inviting, feel like somewhere I wanted to be, feel like it was mine. Yep, those kinds of things. I bought new bedding. Okay, I got it off Temu, but I have to tell you, it is amazing. They had this sale. I was just thinking to myself, what can I do that's going to help me feel more luxurious, like more indulgent. And I thought one of the things I wanted to do was get a new quilt cover set. And so I went on Temu. I never shopped on Temu before, but my mum's addicted and she keeps sending me all these invitations. And then I thought, yeah, okay, I'll just see if they've got something cheap on there. I got this beautiful, beautiful, it's just white because I really love a boho aesthetic, as you know. So I love white, I love wood, I love greenery, and then I have all my crystals and my books and things like that. Like that's just like my vibe. I love all of that so much. So I just got white, and it arrived yesterday. And I have to tell you, it is the softest, softest stuff I've ever felt my whole entire life. It's bamboo, but it's a type of bamboo. I don't know. It's kind of crinkly, like you feel like, oh, I should probably iron it. But it's a type of fabric that's just naturally a little bit crinkly, and it is so soft. I put it on the bed last night, and I swear, when I got into bed and put my head on the pillow and I felt the sheet beneath me and the cover on top of me, I felt like I was sleeping on a cloud. And now I love going into that space. And so I've now gone and bought myself new bedside lamps that have crystals. So they're really cool. The lamp themselves, the base is like copper, and that's like really good for you. And then the actual lamp shade, it's a great big crystal and there's a light behind it. It's like great big quartz crystal, just like this hunk of crystal. And it's all ethically sourced, and it's just, I just can't wait to get these bedside lamps. And I'm just gonna put like dim light bulbs in them because I don't want to have like bright lights in the bedroom. I just want to have dim, soft lighting. Okay. And so doing little things like this, shifting the energy like that. In the study, I decluttered my bookshelf again. I went through, I took every single book off. I opened it. If it wasn't something that was going to bring me joy or add value to my life, I put it in a pile and I went and donated that to the op shop. Everything else I kept. And I put them in section order. These ones over here are for manifesting. These ones over here are for financial abundance. These ones over here are for work stuff, like serious work stuff. These ones over here are for business strategy. These ones down here are for mindset. These ones over here are for, da 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 da. I reorganized. I've got a whole bookshelf dedicated to Oracle decks. So I took all of those out. I looked at each of the Oracle decks. I cleaned them energetically. I knocked on them. I set a mantra over them. I did all of those things. I saged the place. So it's not only the identity. I really feel, in my experience, what's worked for me to have this big leap of doubling my income over the last 3 weeks has been identity at the center of everything, supported by the masculine and the feminine. Identity supported by the masculine and the feminine. So that's what I really want you to take away today. Think about what's your self-image? How are you seeing yourself? What needs to shift? If it's mindset stuff, we can shift it. You probably won't know what's blocking you because it is in your subconscious. The way that you'll know is when you say to yourself, I set the intention to shift how I perceive fear around my business decisions, and to see that fear as a sign that I'm on the right path, and to allow myself to be supported when I'm in the fear. I can be supported by going into my groups, by going into my communities, by messaging Brooklyn, by sending Brooklyn an email, something like that, right? Allow yourself to be supported while you're in that fear, because that'll help you feel safe and you'll get through it more easily, and then you'll have the outcome that you want more easily. But it's that fear is the gold, because that's going to show you what needs to shift, okay? And there will be something around money mindset, or a belief that you have around imposter syndrome or something like that. Something will come up for you. That's the notification from the universe. Shift this, and then we can give you what you want, because the universe is only going to give you what you can handle at any given time. And if you keep saying to the universe, I want this thing, oh, I can't handle fear, or I can't handle that level of discomfort, so I'll just stay where it's familiar, but I still really want that thing, you're going to have a whole lot of false starts. So my advice would be identity, like if you want to do this yourself, pay attention to things that happen around your business that cause you to feel discomfort, right? Like, for example, in July, so just I think it's just 2 weeks away, I'm having a free workshop, right, to help people in private practice get more clients. I'm going to show them how they can set up their own booking funnel. I'm going to demystify a whole lot of their marketing concepts and things like that. It's practical workshops. Every day they get resources and they're going to leave with results, right? That's what I want them to have with me, results. So I'm going to give them that experience of having a result every single day. I want them, they're going to leave the workshop with me feeling more comfortable, and it hasn't cost them a cent. They're going to feel more confident, more comfortable. They're going to all know exactly what to do in their own private practice without getting overwhelmed. They're going to be able to stop doing things that aren't working for them, and they're going to start bringing in clients. But also, with that workshop, there will be opportunities for people to come and learn more um, about how to do this, more ideas, more strategies, more tools, get more help implementing things, get live coaching and support and things like that if they join my More Clients marketing program. So some of them are going to be sitting there thinking, oh, this is something I really, really want to do. This has been so great. If this was the free workshop, what's it going to be like to go and do the paid thing? And then they're going to see the price of the paid thing, some of them, and they're going to have a mini freak out. But that's where the growth is going to be for those people, right? There'll be some people who say, yeah, I'm just signing up and I'll do it. There's always people who just sign up and they do it. But there's always people who just say they live in a course and they say, nope, out of the budget, not going to do it. They don't think about how can I make it happen. They just say, nope, I'm out. So there'll be those people. But there'll be a lot of people. The majority of people are probably going to be in the, yikes, this feels like a lot of money for me. What do I do? And they're in the fear. So it's that fear where they're going to be able to realize, oh, I've just realized that my fear is, what if I spend this money and don't get a return? Oh, my fear is I can't afford it. And if I spend this money now, it's taking away money from this other part of my business. So there might be better ways for me to spend that money and things like that. And that's going to allow them then to work with that and get on the other side of it so they can have what they want. That fear is telling them that they're actually right where they need to be. They're on the cusp of expansion. They're on the cusp of a result. They're on the cusp of getting the thing that they really, really want. They're on the cusp. They're on the precipice. They're about to do it. And they can either take that step forward, or they can take the step back and stay where it's familiar and safe, and come and do the same free workshop in another 6 months when it happens again, and they'll still be in the same position where they are now. And that's totally fine if that's their journey. But for a bunch of them, it's not going to be their journey. They're sick of being where they are now. They're sick of the status quo in their private practice with whatever it is. And they're at the point where they know something's got to change. And this fear is telling them, yes, you're on the right path. Yes, this is for you. Yes, this can work for you and it can make the results happen for you. But yes, this is required for your expansion. And here's the thing that you need to process in order to have what you want that's on the other side. So, do you know what I mean? So start thinking now about being aware of opportunities and situations in your private practice day to day that cause you to be in fear, and look at the thinking that's coming up. Look at the self-talk. Um, that's the gold, because otherwise, if you weren't presented with that fear, you wouldn't be aware of what's been holding you in this position where you are now. And whatever it is that got you here won't get you there. Whatever you needed to go through to get you here will only get you here. But you need to go through more stuff to get you further along on your path. You need to go through the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Because with each level you go through on your private practice, there's new learnings, there's new growth that happens. You're not going to be able to go from where you are now, point A to point B in your private practice, and not grow. Okay? Anyway, I think my headphones have just died, so I'm just going to end it there for now. And if you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you haven't joined the marketing workshop yet, you can. The link's in the show notes. And also, I have a surprise for you. You can grab a Brooklyn secret swag bag. Oh my gosh, say that 10 times fast. You can grab my secret swag bag. It's only for podcast listeners, by clicking the link in the show notes. And it is a living, breathing document where I will be adding new free, everything in it's free. That's why it's called swag. And it's a gift to you for being a loyal listener of the show. And I'll continue to add to it as we go along. If there's anything that you would like to see in the swag, let me know, and I can look at adding that in for you as well. It's just my way of saying thank you so much for listening. Please don't share the swag with people who aren't listeners. It's better if you send them over to the podcast, because I want to make sure that they're getting access to, there's over 440 episodes. I want them to have access to this content. So thank you so much for being part of my world. I will see you in July live for the workshop, and have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Bye for now.